By 9 o'clock on a Monday morning, the conference room at Morgan Technologies in New York was already crowded. Rebecca Morgan, the company's 41-year-old CEO, stood at the head of the table with a tablet in her hand. Across from her sat 5 consultants she had hired from different technology firms. Each had impressive credentials, years of experience, and a reputation for solving difficult corporate problems. At the far end of the room stood Daniel Carter. Daniel had worked for Morgan Technologies for nearly 7 years. He was a single father raising his 9-year-old daughter Lily, and he had built a reputation for solving problems that others considered impossible. But Daniel wasn't flashy. He didn't talk about his achievements. He didn't wear expensive suits. He simply came to work, did his job, and went home to his daughter. Rebecca looked at him. Daniel, I want you to understand that this isn't personal. Daniel already knew what was coming. You're replacing me, he said. Rebecca nodded. For this project, the 5 experts remained silent. Rebecca continued, the company is facing a major technical crisis. We need specialized knowledge, and I've brought in 5 people who have handled situations like this before. Daniel glanced at the consultants. They looked confident. I understand, he said. One of them, a man named Richard, leaned back in his chair. We'll have the problem solved by tonight. Daniel didn't respond. Rebecca handed him a folder. You're being moved off the project effective immediately. Daniel took the folder. Do you need anything from me before I leave? Rebecca hesitated. No. Daniel nodded. He picked up his worn laptop bag before walking out. He looked at the giant screen displaying the project architecture. There's something you should check. Rebecca looked up what Daniel pointed toward. A section of the system. The failure isn't coming from the main server. Richard smiled confidently. We already know that. Daniel looked at him. No. You think you know that? Rebecca frowned. Daniel, we're finished here. Daniel nodded. Okay. He walked out. Hours passed. At first, everything seemed fine. The 5 experts divided the work between themselves. They checked servers, rewrote code, tested security protocols, and reviewed thousands of lines of data. But every solution created another problem. By 6 in the evening, the system was worse than before. By 9, 2 of the experts were arguing. By 11, nobody was talking. Finally, Richard opened Daniel's old project notes. What did he mean by this? Another expert leaned over. Read the next page. Richard turned it. His expression changed. He already identified the pattern. The room went silent. One expert looked at the clock. Where is Daniel? Nobody knew. Then someone remembered something Daniel had once mentioned. He always had dinner with his daughter at the same small diner near his neighborhood. Richard grabbed his coat. We need to find him. And for the first time that day, 5 highly paid experts realized they had made the same mistake. They had underestimated the one person who understood the system better than anyone. At 11:47 p.m., 5 exhausted experts walked into a neighborhood diner in Queens. Daniel sat in a corner booth with his 9-year-old daughter Lily, helping her finish a school project. Daniel looked up when Richard approached. Daniel, we need your help. Daniel frowned. My help? Richard nodded. The project is failing. Daniel glanced at the other expert standing behind him. You replaced me, we know. Another expert admitted, and now you're here. Richard looked embarrassed. We were wrong. Daniel looked at Lily. She immediately understood. Dad, you should help them. Daniel smiled. Finish your project. I'll be back soon. They returned to Morgan Technologies. Rebecca was still in the office. When Daniel walked into the conference room, everyone became silent. Rebecca stood. Daniel, he looked at her. You said you didn't need anything from me. I was wrong. Daniel placed his laptop on the table. Show me what happened. The experts explained everything they had tried. Daniel listened without interrupting. Then he asked one question. Did anyone check the external synchronization module? Richard shook his head. We ruled it out. Why? Because the diagnostics showed it was functioning normally. Daniel smiled slightly. That's exactly why I didn't trust it. He opened the system architecture and followed the data path backward. Within minutes, he found the problem. A small synchronization loop was creating delayed signals that caused the main system to repeatedly restart. The experts stared at the screen. That little module caused all of this. One asked. Daniel nodded. It's not little if everything depends on it. He changed 3 lines of code and restarted the system. The warning lights disappeared. The system stabilized. Nobody spoke. Then Richard slowly stood. You solved in 10 minutes what 5 of us couldn't solve in 14 hours. Daniel closed his laptop. You had the knowledge. You just didn't know the system. Rebecca looked at him. I made a mistake. Daniel didn't answer. She continued. I thought bringing in 5 experts would make the company stronger. Daniel nodded. Sometimes it does. But not when you remove the person who understands the foundation. Rebecca looked at the 5 consultants. They all nodded. Richard stepped forward. You should lead this project. Another expert agreed. Absolutely. Rebecca looked at Daniel. I want you back. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Same position. No, she paused. Project director, full authority. And you can set your own schedule. Daniel looked surprised. My daughter comes first. I know, Rebecca smiled. Then that's part of the agreement. Daniel finally accepted as the experts gathered around him. Richard smiled. Looks like we're working for you now. Daniel laughed. Let's just fix the system. At midnight, the project was stable again, and 5 experts learned a lesson they would never forget. Experience isn't always loud. Sometimes the most valuable person in the room is the quiet, single dad everyone thought they could replace.